せん。運転手さんいませんか？
I never would have expected that there will come a time when I speak of a new Silent Hill game with genuine excitement in my voice. The franchise felt so irredeemably dead even when it was technically alive, and the last glimmer of hope of getting something unique and interesting was Silent Hills, that has come and gone over 10 years ago. But here it is, Silent Hill F, a new game that almost doesn't feel like Silent Hill at all, that also happens to be the most inventive and interesting entry in the series since The Room. Well, I guess apart from the Shattered Memories, but that is a bit of a special case. Is this game flawless? Absolutely not, but it sure is creative and memorable. Just so you know, I'm attempting to be very selective about the footage from the game included here, because one of the coolest things about F is its story and storytelling. And one thing must be stressed up front: when you finish the game for the first time, you only experienced about half of the game and its story, maybe even less. Silent Hill F changes significantly on replays. You constantly get new snippets of story, and I urge anyone who gets invested in the story to see it to the end through all the endings. Especially since this time around the story is unusually very human. Good Silent Hill entries always had solid characters, but this time around you really get to learn about them and see them in their best and their worst. The game does have all the different markers that could potentially earn it the mocking "it's drama" moniker, and yet the way it's written is so good, it elevates above the simple tropes and stereotypes, making it perhaps one of the best written Silent Hill stories in general. And the gameplay is no slacker either. The base survival horror ideas and mechanics are quite good. The exploration, as typical to all post Silent Hill 2 entries, is somewhat limited, but is still there, and what is there is really fun. The combat system is solid too, though I made a choice for myself that I recommend to others. Use the controls that map the run button to the shoulder button and attacks to the face buttons on the controller, as it just feels a lot better than the default. But the management of stamina, or the fact that the counterattack is tied to the same button as the heavy attack, leads to some really fun dynamics in combat, especially when you learn how to supplement all of that with special talisman perks and different resources that you can eat. The game also looks very good, with interesting visual style and use of colors, while the soundtrack is solid, if somewhat disappointing. Usually Yamaoka music in Silent Hill titles is the exciting part, but this time around it's mostly just good, which simply pales in comparison to the inventive tunes he wrote for Slitterhead last year. Though, speaking of visuals, this being an Unreal Engine 5 title, it is sadly not without some faults. As usual, I've personally had very few issues, but the game can have performance and stuttering issues on all platforms. What's very questionable about the game design itself is the quality of puzzles. They're all over the place, and some of the easy mode puzzles might be harder than some of the hardest mode puzzles, because of what they seem to expect from players. There are some gems too that I really enjoyed, but a lot of the puzzles are rather poor, especially ones that rely on visual icons that are extremely hard to parse of what they're supposed to represent and what developers think they're supposed to represent, which might differ from what you think it is. Though the absolute worst decision this game makes is the set difficulty selection. The game defaults the action difficulty set to story, and I advise you start there. The fact that the second difficulty is called hard is not a miscommunication. There is simply no normal difficulty. Story got some really cool mechanics and is quite easy to play through. On hard, you make one mistake, get hit 3 times and die. There is no in between. Which leads to hard being more tedious than challenging on your first playthrough because it incentivizes you to play very carefully. I made a mistake of playing on hard the first time, and by the end of the game I was really tired. The game was updated and balancing in general got quite a bit better, but oddly enough the developers decided to introduce a much easier difficulty instead of an in-between one, so the issue still exists. Oh, and also the first ending you get is just horrible, which didn't help. As I said, you really should keep playing, but the first ending you can get in the game is almost offensively stupid, which isn't helping. So you'll just have to trust me that things get a lot better from there on. Silent Hill F is odd and unconventional, and that's precisely what me and my friends loved about the original 4 Silent Hill games when they were still new. They never quite fit your expectations and did something absolutely fresh and new, and after such a long period of stagnation, F delivers what almost no other entry in the franchise even attempted to deliver in the last 20 years. It's flawed, puzzles are messy, and action difficulty balancing is just bizarre, but it is an unforgettable experience.